Welcome to this special edition of Thought to Action presented by the Herb London Center for Policy Research. I'm Chris Cordani. If you enjoy our content, don't forget to hit that like button. Also, comment, share, and subscribe. You can enjoy some sneak previews of our videos, exclusive content, and more special programming like our Ask Us Anything sessions by joining our Patreon page, patreon.com/thought-to-action. Also, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Getter, and our website, londoncenter.org. Take a look at our Thought to Action Teespring store as well, where we offer all sorts of merchandise and new items. Yes, new t-shirts are coming soon. You're going to love them. They're going to be a lot of fun, and we'll have more throughout the year. It happened. Twitter has been sold to Elon Musk. The transition is happening. The Tesla founder has said he wanted to restore the free speech aspect to what has become a national and worldwide town square forum that devolved into a cesspool of censorship, bannings, and a lot of screeching. Our panel here from the Herb London Center for Policy Research will talk about this. We have Lieutenant Colonel retired Tony Shaffer, our president, London Center Distinguished Fellow Navy Captain retired Pete O'Brien, and London Center Senior Fellow Captain, Marine Captain Bill Heinzelmann. Gentlemen, let's start here. Twitter has been irresponsible with the power it holds, but now it's been sold. There are a lot of, let's say, reactions to, the reactions have been outstandingly fun. Yeah, some on the right are, hey, we're celebrating free speech. We don't know what's going to happen. But on the left, it's been a complete meltdown. If you watch MSNBC, Jen Psaki's come out with that, oh, we're worried about misinformation. What do you mean? Twitter's run misinformation for a long time. It's just a certain kind of misinformation. First, let's get your thoughts on Elon Musk and the potential of him running Twitter. Tony, we'll start with you.
So Elon Musk is no saint, but he has objectives which I think are both pragmatic and linked to the First Amendment and the Bill of Rights. I believe, like some other, I can't take credit for this as original thinking, but I do believe some of the other folks I've seen on YouTube talk about the fact that this was really partly a matter of preservation for Musk. If he hadn't bought it, it would be used against him. So I think it's a very pragmatic and practical approach. You got the resources. You know these guys are coming at you. They're going to come at you. Buy them out. It's a very mafia type thing to do, but it seems to be in the best interest of the country. So, and I find it ironic that Jack Dorsey, of all people, say, "Oh, Musk is the single point solution for all of this." Like, yeah, that's a clue. Dorsey is no fan of free speech because this all started under him. So, I think either Dorsey is feeling remorseful or recognizes that perhaps his deeds don't match what he says. But the bottom line is, I think that there's reasons for panic at Twitter. I think the overnight increase of conservative, the number of people following notable conservatives like Don Jr., all these things, and the C and other notable indicative of what they're trying to do behind the scenes right now. I think what they're trying to do, Chris, over the next few months, the 6-month transition phase, is to try to hide as much damning evidence as they can, and then that which they can't hide, they're going to try to put the best happy face on, like, oh, it was an algorithm. We didn't know the algorithm was doing the suppression of conservative voices. How did we know that? We didn't know that. So that's what's going on right now, and I think that I'd like to believe that others, such as myself, who were purged in some of the earlier rounds of targeting of voices that Twitter didn't like, will be restored. Because if Elon Musk is the pure pure speech guy he claims to be, then we should all be there, having discussions and dialogue relating to the current issues. After all, it's now said this is the marketplace of ideas, the meeting place, kind of the market square of the nation. So I think it's a good thing. One last thing before I hand it off to my colleagues, I find it interesting that I'm gonna probably butcher this. Vijaya Gade, GADDE,
Oh,
48.
the lawyer,
The
yes, the
lawyer, the
crying
Twitter
lawyer.
lawyer, was crying, apparently, by all accounts, on a call to the Twitterati staff. And why would someone cry about the idea of free speech and actually opening up the spigots? Why would you do that? Well, I would say it's because you were never committed to free speech. You were committed to being a partisan hack who was finding any excuse possible to go after folks on the conservative side that you didn't agree with. And I think I'd like to believe her days as the senior attorney are numbered, and I hope a very low number at that. So I just think that the more we see of the reaction to the purchase, the more we have confirmation of what we've always known regarding the biased and political wrangling that they've done. And one of the things Musk went after her directly on, as a matter of fact, and now apparently for calling someone out for wrongdoing, you're a misogynist, because apparently the other seniors say, oh, see, Elon going after this lawyer for suppressing the Hunter Biden hard drive, that's misogyny.
Mm-hmm.
Who'd have thought? This is what they do. Anything they disagree with is sexist, misogyny, racist, or bigotry,
Or a threat to our democracy.
or a threat to our democracy, or you're
That's right.
threatening me by
Yes.
pointing out what I've done wrong. You're threatening me. You're like, what's her name over at the Washington Post? Oh, Tim Pool putting up the billboard in Times Square. That's violence against me. Ooh,
Oh, yeah,
this is insane.
That's
It's insane.
Lorenz. Taylor Lorenz is her name.
Taylor
She's
Lorenz,
the one
yeah.
that was doxing.
You're pointing out what I did, and it's, oh, you're threatening me by pointing out what I did.
They don't want to
It's
take
insane.
responsibility for their actions, and that's
Yeah,
an
there you
issue.
go.
Something you mentioned just earlier, and I want to get to Bill and Pete on this too. Something you mentioned was the Twitter people, the Twitter powerful, are not only upset about losing their control, if you will, but it seems to be over the last little while, maybe in a small period, practically overnight. A lot of conservatives have gained tens of thousands of
Right.
followers, while some liberals have lost a bunch.
Imagine
Could
that.
that be a little bit of algorithmic game playing, or maybe some inflation or deflation of certain people's Twitter accounts to give or take away power from certain people?
Oh, of course. It's about the perception of power, and they do follow the number of people. I had one at one point in time, 136,000 followers before the 2020 election, and then magically in January of 2021, 38,000 were gone. I was below 100K, and that was meant as a punishment. Obviously, it was about the same time Trump got kicked off. And they do this game because it's like just another glaring indicator of how dishonest they are. They cannot simply let people follow who people want to follow. Think about that. If I had 130, what do they care? Well, they do care, because, oh my God, we can't have people demonstrating the democracy of their choice by voting to follow people. That's threatening our democracy by doing that, according to Twitter. So that's the insanity that we've seen come out of this. And yeah, Chris, I mean, it's indicative of what they're going to do now to try to hide the bodies as best they can as the transition happens over the next 6 months.
Pete, Bill, what do you think about this?
Well, I would say I'm not like Twitter is not my preferred social platform for all the reasons that we just kind of hit on for what it's been for so long. But Elon Musk is definitely my choice of innovators. He's no saint, like Tony said, but he is a pretty brilliant business strategist, and he's incredibly bold. He always bets on himself. He's living the American dream as an immigrant, and he's
he African American? Is that true? I saw that.
He's so he's from South Africa.
Yeah,
he came
South
here
African.
via
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. He's from Africa,
Canada, right?
It's like Mrs. Hines was an African American. She grew up in Mozambique, so that counts, right?
That's right. It does. It actually does.
Yeah.
If there's one thing that we can count on Elon Musk for, which I'm grateful, and is that he is like the chief disruptor in charge. Like he is going to shake things up, much like Donald Trump did in the political and government leadership game, right? Elon is going to disrupt social media now. He's disrupted energy, he's disrupted the automotive industry, and now somebody has come in to totally shake things up in big tech. And I'm grateful for it. I am there's this immediate backlash right now, which we can all sort of predict and expect and get a good chuckle out of, I think. Especially you, Tony, you know, you're so cynical over there, down there in the corner. Like, I know this is hilarious, right? Like the meltdowns and the hypocrisy that's just coming so plainly out from all these pundits on major media. It's hilarious. Like that Ari guy who's coming and he's like, don't you realize that now Elon Musk can turn the dial down and block, you know, political candidates? And it's like, where have you guys been? You know, where have you been, media?
Yeah, they've been doing that. They've been doing that, Bill. I mean,
right.
They turn the dial down on whoever they don't like. Now they're worried somebody else might do it, and they're not even sure if that's going to happen.
Right, and it's incredible speculation, and it's an attack and an assumption on Elon Musk that there's nothing that points to indicate that that's actually any kind of intelligent analysis of the situation at all. Right, it's just complete and utter nonsense. But it's actually what has been happening prior to Elon Musk,
Yeah.
and it's you know, we're going to see this. And it's going to be comical. And I think everybody should just sit back. You know, every average American citizen sit back and get a good laugh out of all of this. Because what I would bet is much like, you know, the documentary that these social media tycoons made a couple years ago about the drawbacks of social media, especially around mental health in children. A lot of that stuff is going to come to light because Elon Musk, I would bet, is not going to try to cover it up. It's not going to be made into a documentary that is a conspiracy theory type of, it's not received as some kind of conspiracy theory message. He's just going to tweet it. He's just going to tweet it out in small, compartmentalized things that we can consume and understand and appreciate and digest. And I think it's going to bring to light a lot of the drawbacks. And we're going to have someone who might actually have a soul and might actually care about American citizens and the effects of this kind of a tool, this kind of technology that it has on a citizenry and namely our children. So if you're feeling yourself not laughing, right? If you're sitting at home getting upset about Elon Musk buying Twitter and worried or something like that, and you have children in your home, you need to hear this. When you're at the dinner table tonight, you need to change it up. And instead of coddling your children or whatever, you tell them, you look them in the eye and you say, sticks and stones could break your bones, but words will never hurt you. And I think we're going to start turning more sharply to the ways to an American culture that's more recognizable to the rest of the world. And I think that this is a pivotal moment to that change.
Pete, I want to get to you on this. I always find it important not to look to somebody to come in as a messiah or hero. And I believe far too many people on the right side of this issue are saying Elon Musk is going to come down and save Twitter. He's going to save free speech. I understand that Elon Musk is going to do a lot of good things for free speech by owning Twitter, but let's not jump the gun here. Pete, what are your thoughts on all this? Because the idea is, well, Elon Musk, I guess that what triggered was that whole thing with the Babylon Bee. and everything kind of pushed forward on this, and now Elon Musk has Twitter. The thing is, though, and again, you saw this with Barack Obama. There was like some sort of hero worship going on. Barack Obama is going to save the world because he's so pretty and he has that cool smile and can sing. Elon Musk can do all sorts of amazing things in the business world, but again, and I'm sure you've seen this over the many years that you spent in leadership, Pete, not to rely or at least over worship one man when he comes to take things over. Because let's put it this way: Elon Musk is a businessman. He's going to do what's best for his business.
And I think that's spot on. I think that to step back even one more step, the real interesting piece to this, and I think to if you will cast an aspersion on some on the left, I think the real fear from the left, if they really thought about it, is not of Elon Musk. Elon Musk is exactly as you say, just one man. The real issue here is, what if Elon Musk does exactly what he says? Which, by the way, is what people usually do. People usually, strangely enough, do what they say, even when it's bad. What if Elon Musk simply takes all the controls off? He takes all the leashes off and lets people talk. If you go back and look at our founding fathers, you look at what Jefferson and Adams and a few others said about free speech. The idea was that if you let people talk about anything, you put no boundaries on it, that in a marketplace of free ideas, that the right idea eventually will rise to the top. The reason why you restrict free ideas is because you're afraid of the right idea. You're afraid of those, if you will, in our particular case, this being the United States, those quintessential founding principles rising to the top and tearing back at a whole host of restrictions on society and a whole host of authorities given to government that have come in place in the last 70, 80, 90 years. And if free speech, and it doesn't matter how free it gets, it should get completely free. If that completely free speech essentially gets into a little fight with all the different facets of it, the essential essence of our belief in the United States is that in the end, the right ideas will live. They'll succeed, they'll be victorious, they'll beat down the bad ideas. And the thing that people are afraid of here, some people are afraid of, is that the wrong ideas will lose and the right ideas will win, and they don't want that. And I think this is a wonderful opportunity to watch what the founding fathers were saying occur, is that in a marketplace where everybody's allowed to share their ideas, in the end, the right ideas, the good ideas will succeed. So I say, hey, you know what? Let them go. Just let them go. Now, I don't care who it is. I don't care if there's some jerk Nazi talking about one thing over here or over there or some communist. Let them talk, because people will eventually figure it out. People will listen to them and say, that guy's a jerk and that guy's an idiot. And the right idea is this idea right here, which was written down by some guy named Adams or Jefferson. I think that will happen.
I want to submit to all of you this one, though. It's not just about worrying about if the right idea is going to come through, or if there are going to be too many people in the marketplace of ideas that some fringes might reign superiority over the others. The fact is, I believe that, again, I forgot that woman's name, the lawyer. She was crying, and a lot of the Twitter employees were getting really upset. And you heard a lot of this in the phone conversation, the all hands on deck meeting that Project Veritas released. The idea is, I believe that too many people there wanted to control speech. And look what they did. Let's go right back to the Hunter Biden laptop. They determined that anybody who talks about it would be banned or just have their posts taken down or be suspended. This turned out to be true. This turned out to be something that changed the course of history. This is
Well,
what they want to do. They want to be able to
well, let me hit that for a second,
control.
Chris.
Yes.
So let me, our group, people who follow us know this a lot about Hunter Biden hard drive because we played a role as a think tank and me as an individual. So let's be clear on what they did. I'm an intelligence officer last time I checked. I think the stuff on the wall indicates that, been around a few days, analyzed a few things, penetrated bad organizations, may have shot people, just saying, maybe not, I don't know.
Mhm.
But my point being is that I've done this a day or two. I've done this for 40 some years. I've got a retirement plaque from, you can look up my career. You can read my career. It's in the congressional record. Last time I checked, that's pretty official. So I come on and say, I have knowledge of the Hunter Biden hard drive. I have spoken to the individual, JP, who actually received it from Hunter Biden. And I know people in the loop. And yet somehow I, as a professional, don't have the right to say, this looks authentic. You need to look at it. Now, think about that. I said this back in the day. You all probably remember this. Our audience probably remembers this. And yet every time I tried to state a professional opinion based on facts I was directly aware of, I couldn't do that. I would have posts taken down. I would be attacked by others on Twitter mercilessly because, oh, no, this is Russian propaganda. No, it was never Russian propaganda. I would argue Twitter became the best extension of the Soviet, that's a slip, the Russians' propaganda machine by the fact that they were supporting it. They were doing what the Russians would want. So I don't know how else to put it, Chris, other than the fact that people like me in similar positions who looked at the Hunter Biden hard drive, who had access to it. We'll be talking more about this. I think, Chris, we're going to do a separate thought to action on this.
Absolutely.
And some of the other things, because we do a lot behind the scenes. We just can't always talk about in real time. This was a situation where we knew everything that was going on, pretty much everything. And we knew who was involved, how they were involved, when things were passed to the FBI, when the FBI refused to act, who had copies of the hard drive, what was on the hard drive, what we were trying to do to make sure people saw what was on the hard drive, and it was being suppressed by Twitter and others. Twitter was part of a co-conspiracy to suppress the thoughtful interaction of the American people with facts necessary for the American people to make the correct decision regarding voting. That is to use their words, that is a direct attack on democracy. There
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it was basically a way to change, and I said it before, change the course of history, or at least put their hands in the middle of an honest election and turn it around to make it to skew it. But again, this is part of those moneyed interests.
Yeah, I'm a professional, Chris. I'm a professional. Last time I checked, kind of. I mean, you all think I am, so that's okay. But my point being that Twitter shouldn't have the right to suppress my speech based on the fact that I've done this a day or two and I recognize when something is real or not real, right? Am I wrong here?
You're 100% right.
Why would Twitter have that right?
You gentlemen remember that?
They shouldn't, right?
You gentlemen remember the Time magazine article where the writer bragged about the moneyed interests who did their best to suppress information and to skew people to thinking certain ways. This, of course, includes the Hunter Biden laptop information suppression to fortify the election. They actually openly admitted what they were doing and still turn around and say, well, we're going to open Twitter up to disinformation or misinformation if, in fact, somebody takes over. Bill, Pete, I want to get to you guys, and I want your reactions on some of the, let's just say, the funniest reactions. Yeah, I want your reactions to the funniest reactions to the Musk ownership of Twitter. Washington Post, owned by Jeff Bezos. Quote, it's terrifying when billionaires start owning media outlets. Even better, Adam Schiff announced he was worried about misinformation being allowed on Twitter. This is the king of putting misinformation on Twitter.
This is the height of hypocrisy right now, right? Like, I don't want to say that because I feel like next week something crazier is going to happen then, right? But I feel like we might be right near the top, the pinnacle of this hypocrisy, and it's going to become so plain for the citizenry at this point. Like it's just gonna be plain to be able to identify this hypocrisy for exactly what it is. When you hear Bezos say that, it's like you're talking about yourself, buddy.
It
Like,
was the Washington Post. The Washington Post said it. I don't think Bezos said it himself, but the Washington
Okay.
Post, owned by Bezos. Still, a little
Yeah.
self-awareness goes a long way.
Well, Bezos has in fact made some statements concerning Mr. Musk, but it is amusing if you crack back in time 125 years and you find William Randolph Hearst and the yellow sheets and what did Hearst say? You give me the pictures and I'll give you the war. I'll give you a war.
Yeah.
Words to that effect. I don't have the exact right, but Hearst. Hearst, for a host of reasons, thought that a war between the United States and Spain, which of course occurred in 1898, would be of value to him, and did everything he could to skew the reporting, skew the stories, and in fact we wound up with a war. And I just find it fascinating is that by the time you get to the 1950s and 1960s, Hearst is viewed as a very unpleasant man who caused a great deal of pain and discontent because of his control of the Hearst newspapers and in the stories he spun in the control. And here we have Jeff Bezos, man who figured out warehousing and made a tremendous amount of money doing so, and he decided to buy a newspaper because the newspaper was failing. Washington Post was going down the drain. It was already circling the drain, and Bezos bought it and put a ton of money into it. So now it's no longer circling the drain. And the Washington Post, which has always been a leftist-leaning newspaper, took another hard lurch to the left when Mr. Bezos bought the newspaper, and I don't think anybody is going to deny that. Would anybody deny that? But now suddenly, Mr. Bezos, who has been sitting on top of these newspapers and spinning his own story through the editors, now is concerned that someone else is going to be spinning a story. It's kind of funny. My act is a good act, but your act stinks. Kind of response to the world. It's kind of amusing.
Yeah, they're worried about wrongthink. Tony, let's throw this at you too. And of course, Bill and Pete. I was listening to the Project Veritas video with the phone call, the all hands on deck meeting with Parag Agrawal, the CEO of Twitter. A couple of things stuck out to me. One employee asked if Musk was prepared for a mass exodus, which I see as a possible veiled threat of sorts. On the other hand, considering some of their posts and expressed anger over the buyout, maybe this will only result in the dead wood weeding itself out to make room for quality employees. Another thing is one question calling Musk out as someone of questionable character, which is likely about the potential of something maybe happening inside as well. But I believe it's because Musk might expose some of the company's algorithms and censorship tactics to the rest of the world. What are your thoughts on that? And let's add one more thing.
Yeah.
The idea that there's a huge wokeness cult inside Twitter. Do you think there might be some sort of guerrilla insurgency amongst some of the employees who stay there and maybe try to mess up the algorithm or mess up the code here and there, or maybe still do some shadow banning that people won't notice?
Of course. Look, I think that to begin the answer, you see today, here's John Leguizamo freaking out. Who is freaking out? Because, the left hasn't had to experience all the things. And I think it's a balancing. I think what they've been doing is changing it so as followers build up, they're diverted. They exist, but they divert it. They want to have a real number. It's like how they did the vote cheating. A lot of the vote cheating. It's like, oh, the votes are all there. You have to have like an artifact. You have like a little one noting someone's followed someone, but they've been diverting them to the left. Now there's a reckoning. And I think there's a lot of things like this that they're going to find. This is just the tip of the iceberg. And so to first off, and everybody else will comment on this, they're lying. They always lie. These people, this is the same thing as is if Trump wins, I'm going to Canada. It's like, no, you're not going to Canada. I'm sorry, bacon ain't something you're going to live off of. You're, too tied to truffles. You're not going to give that up. So we're all going to leave. It's like, no, they're not. And it goes more to the point of what you're saying, Chris. They're going to stay there and create a resistance. That's what they're going to do, because these people are making a lot of money. Nobody I know of who's rational walks away from, that whatever her name, Vishna, or whatever her name is, the lawyer
Yeah.
that cried.
Right.
$17 million last year. Do you think someone's going to walk away from $17 million? What they're going to try to do is Elon's going to show up and it's like, oh, we've changed. We have seen the light. We like you, Mr. Musk. We're all on board. It's going to be a lie. This is what the left does. Look at what if they're willing to lie about followers, what are they not willing to lie about? Think about it. So no, they're not. You'll see a few who do the virtual signaling and maybe go and get, but no, they're not leaving. They're going to try to dig in. They're going to try to pretend that they changed their stripes. If I were Musk, I would fire everybody day one.
Yeah.
I would walk
Look what
in
happened
and
with the
just
Trump
say,
administration.
You're out of here.
Look, everybody in administration gets
pre-interviewed,
fired.
ready to roll in. Yeah.
Well, look what happened
Yeah.
with the Trump administration. He said he wanted to get rid of the dead wood,
well,
drain the
that's
swamp. But
another,
look
yeah.
what happened. He didn't fire everybody, and
Nope,
he got
he
your
did not.
Vindmans and your Eric the Charming Fellas. I don't think we're still allowed to say that name on YouTube, but you know who he is.
Eric,
the Charming Fella. That's what I.
yeah, Eric.
But
I used to
these
call him something people liked. I can't remember what it was.
But Chris.
Oh,
Chris,
Eric
the
Chickamauga. Eric Chickamauga. Chickamauga.
But Chris, the issue here is that Trump has the authority to turn over at least the management. There's no value in keeping the management. The company, if you've got a company that's going in the wrong direction, that's clearly going in the wrong direction. You need to kind of clean out the deadwood. You need to clean out the people who are making the bad decisions, and that's what he needs to do. And why anybody in any corporation anywhere has a salary of $17 million is beyond.
No, Pete. It was only a salary of about $1 million. Most of that was bonuses and stock. So, but 17 million. I mean, she gets paid just $1 million a year just to be a lawyer who cries on video calls. Which I like that job, by the way. If anybody knows an organization I can go to work for, where I have to cry once a year on a video call, I'm your man. I can do.
Pull out those crocodile tears. I can do that.
Hell, for 17 million, I'll sob.
Give me the money. I'll put pepper spray on my own eyes if I can't generate the tears.
Exactly. Rub a little horseradish sauce in your nose.
That's right. There you go.
So what happens next? Tony, I know there's that, and I want to acknowledge some of our followers for putting together a Bring Back T Spooky campaign on Twitter. They've been doing this for a while, but I'd like to see a lot of people who were banned and kicked off Twitter for minuscule reasons, mainly for wrongthink, to be brought back, and that includes yourself, Tony.
Well, so keep in mind why I was kicked off. So I believe it was a twofer, because I started trolling Ray Epps. Ray Epps, as you guys know, is the, I would argue, FBI plant in the 6th January conspiracy, where he was literally on tape encouraging people the night before to storm the Capitol, where people were saying Fed, Fed, Fed. Well, he's a Fed. Secondly, he's there on the Capitol steps directing people to go in, yet he's not charged. How is this possible? So I was literally trolling him, and I got, so after that is when I got banned, kicked off. So that going very well, and I think everybody would give me credit for this. I would take on the liberal trolls and get them really upset, and then inevitably I would get them to say or do something that literally threatened me and broke the Twitter rules, and that's wrong. Because I was prompting these guys to act in their nature and threaten me. Oh, that's violence. Right, Chris? I mean, it's like, no, I'm simply saying and doing things to get them to violate the terms of service and get them banned. I admitted that.
Exactly. And the funny thing is, what you're saying right now hits hits to the fact that when you hear people like Joy Reid or Brian Stelter going, this is a threat to democracy. They're going to take this and do some horrible things with Twitter and suppress voices that aren't going to be, or that wouldn't normally be heard. Wait a minute. What you're doing is actually creating the fallacy that everybody on the other side thinks like you do. These are the people that were kicking people off the platforms because of wrongthink. No, that is not going to be true. The idea is they want to pretend that we're going to act just like them if we have the power, but we see what they're like when they have power, and we see what they're like when they lose power.
Right. And so, but again, just think about that, guys. That because I would prompt them. This is like the libs of TikTok. Same thing. She basically would just take what they've said and compare their insanity. I would do the same thing. It's like, hey, this is stupid. Oh my God, I can't believe you're a misogynist. Like, no, I'm not a misogynist. You're a racist. And this is why. Oh my God, I can't believe you called me a racist. And then he would threaten me. And it's like, oh, see, I got to report you now because you threatened me. That's it. That's what I was doing. And then I'm the bad guy because I get them to do all these things that break the Twitter rules. So no. We are going to let you get people to break Twitter rules. We're going to suspend you.
What you also find on Twitter is, and I know, Bill, Pete, you're not really on Twitter, if at all, that when you say something, you put something out there, and Tony, this happens to you quite a bit. Some lefty that sees this gets a hair in their nose over it and starts posting it to their friends and trying to get them to come after you at the same time. Just trying to dog
and I wouldn't
pile,
back down. I would not back down. Right.
Dog pile on the right guy. Exactly.
and I would never back down. And they hated it. So yes. I even got Titus. I even got that old comedian Titus so upset he finally had to block me, for God's sake. You know,
he used to be funny.
And think of some of the other folks that have been kicked off. A couple of the guys. There were a couple of fairly staid conservative in the social sense of doctors, physicians who were kicked off because they voiced alternate opinions about how to treat the Wuhan flu.
Again, a professional making an opinion based on their professional experience. Exactly.
And these guys were sent to Twitter limbo because they said there might be another way to go about this.
And you talk about the attack on democracy. That is an attack on science. Right. It's an attack on the scientific process, right? Where we, like Twitter, I don't know, is there a bigger influencer that could have shifted Americans' thought around science? And the word that comes before science and the scientific process is question the science, right? To something that's different. The phrase is follow the science. Maybe the White House administration and Twitter, the two biggest influencers of changing that sort of thought process by changing a phrase, right? A common phrase.
Well, Bill, you have to remember that the Twitter was one of the primary arrows of multiple. I mean, it was Washington Post, New York Times, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, basically all the social media were controlled. Twitter, I think, was the most visible because of the real-time nature of the interactions. You can kind of interact and text. But to your point, I mean, look, you had people out there who, Bill Gates, when did Bill Gates get his medical degree? When did Bill Gates go and get a degree in environmental studies? When did he get anything to do with any of the social or medical issues or scientific issues? When is he qualified to say that? But his voice was amplified constantly because he is part of the progressive privilege crowd, and their message always carries the day. So I think that's why Musk, while he's not a saint, I think he's already gone after Gates with the pregnant man emoji, which is great. It's like, it's a boner killer. I can say that, can I, Chris? I mean, this is our show. I guess
it means something else.
I guess I can say that. So.
Oh, and speaking of Bill Gates, you know what happened? Musk released what happened when Gates tried to short Tesla.
Yeah.
He goes, hey, I got all sorts of shares now. I'm going to short you. But before I do that, let's talk philanthropy. And when he says let's talk philanthropy, let's talk about my climate change narrative.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. No matter where you stand on the climate change thing, between the established narrative and natural causes or anywhere in between, I venture I submit. I shouldn't even. I challenge. That's the word. I challenge anyone to tell me who has actually done more for clean energy and for preserving the planet
Then
than
Musk.
Elon Musk
Yeah.
individually.
Well, I still have a problem with the batteries and the whole economic process of electric cars. This is one of my issues with Musk. It's like,
That
oh,
has to be
so
improved.
so I look, I'm not a big fan of electric for any number of reasons. With that said, I'm fascinated with the fact that left is now attacking him, even though he's the largest producer of what they want, which is like, am I missing something here? It's like this guy's like doing what you want, and you're attacking him. I mean, what's wrong with you people?
Yeah.
With that said, I mean, look, again, let me be clear for those who are joining us for the first time. I have a degree in environmental studies. There is no such thing as man-made climate change. It does not exist. The fraction of a percent of a fraction of a percent of the CO2 we put into the atmosphere has no effect, no measurable effect. If you want to study what affects climate, you need to look at geologic time and the trends which have shaped the Earth going back something like 4.5, 4.6 billion years.
We can't say that, Tony, because we still have 6 months to say that on Twitter now. If I
Yeah.
put this on Twitter, we're going to be kicked off.
Well, I'm just saying. And so the second thing
kidding.
is the sun. The sun is the largest purveyor of effect on this planet, period. A little change in the sun has huge effects that touch everything. So I'm just asking people, be rational. Actually go out and study the science. Don't just pick up and say the left narrative that man is evil. By the way, man is, according to them, man is the root cause of all things. Systemic racism, that's everything is bad. Everything is, so that their side always portrays the men, humankind as the villain in all of this. And trust me, there are bad things people have done. Look at the left. I mean, there you go. That's example A. But look, we need to separate out what is objective fact from projection and try to work towards understanding things in a more scientific way and letting people who are professionals have a voice and speaking out about that sort of thing. So,
and this is something you brought up a while ago, a long time ago, and we've had this in our videos, Tony. The war on objective truth.
right.
This is all part of it. The smear campaign against Elon Musk has started. The smear campaign against people who are going to go back on Twitter and speak freely has started, because now the main narrative is to tell people, hey, if you still, no matter what happens on Twitter, if you're perpetrating wrongthink, then you are a white racist, nationalist, misogynist, anti-trans, anti-whatever, who is... you know where I'm going here. But the fact is, they're shouting down objective truth. They're doing a preemptive attack on objective truth on Twitter. How about that?
On the mass exodus thing, one of the things that the left is at risk of doing is totally overplaying their hand here and kind of revealing and exposing themselves as just trying to attempt to preserve their power. Let everything else fall to the wayside. We need to preserve power. And if we've covered a lot of the first order effects, very predictable first order effects of Elon Musk buying Twitter, right? But that mass exodus, what's going to happen? What is the explanation for when Elon Musk does what Elon Musk does and turns Twitter into an even more influential, profitable monster of a technology company? And he takes it public and everybody makes even more money. Like, what's going to happen then if that happens? Or he keeps it private and the earnings skyrocket and it becomes an even larger. How are we going to explain that away when all of his employees, all of the current Twitter employees, there's a mass exodus, right? They're one way or another, that's probably going to happen, right? And we get all these new employees in, and Elon Musk is known for, being a very driven type of leader, right? And working people hard, right? And expecting results, laying out expectations and holding to account for those expectations. So what's going to happen to the technology? What's going to happen to Silicon Valley when all of the little, sleep pods go away? Right? Like, what's going to happen? How is the left going to acknowledge success and achievement? And that's what I'm so eager to hear, in several months, a year, 2 years, when Elon Musk is incredibly successful with all of his ambitions and with Twitter, and it's better, right? And it's more profitable, and it's become more influential. How's the left gonna explain that away?
Well, you're talking about a company here that at this point, and hopefully not in the future, actually pays people for the title of toxicity moderator.
It's a new day, and I think I hope people will for those who have not been paying close attention, start paying close attention, because Twitter is not the only organization that needs to be changed fundamentally. So
this could be the beginning of a real reckoning of what's going on in not only the tech sector, but media in general.
that's right. We need to appoint a toxic engagement manager, so Elon will buy us out too. Let's do that. Who wants to be? Bill, do you want to do that? You want to be the toxic engagement manager?
There you go.
Well, I'll just appoint you to that right now. So.
All right. You all go back and haze yourselves. 1008 bodybuilders for everybody. You're not done until you're swimming in your own sweat. Go. That's your punishment for the day.
All right. Thank you all for being with us for this toxic edition, a special toxic edition, if you will, of Thought to Action presented by the Herb London Center for Policy Research. Please remember to hit that like button. Feel free to comment on our discussion. We appreciate your thoughts. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to Thought to Action. Pound the big red bell for updates on future shows, and find out more about the London Center on our website, londoncenter.org. If you'd like to help us out with putting this kind of programming together, please do so on our Patreon page, patreon.com/thought to action, or pick up some of our cool merch. We have even cooler stuff coming on our Teespring store. Information is in the description. For our panel and the Herb London Center for Policy Research, I'm Chris Cordani. Thank you for watching and listening. Stay informed and make your day a great one.